Identify yourself.
I'm
Yeah, because you can't see.
I'm Clifford Smith from St. Mark's Lutheran Church. Is this okay?
Yeah. Just take like a step backwards. There you go.
Okay.
There you go.
Well, this is being taped. So I want to welcome you to our first session of St. Mark's 2022 Winter Forum. Our theme this year is God's Hands in Our Community. And we'll focus on learning about the programming and services of 5 nearby community service agencies. In doing so, we'll also be exploring ways that St. Mark's may be helpful in partnering with these agencies in the programs and services they offer. We're very pleased to have Joseph Wisniewski, good Irish name, Executive Director of Bellevue Community Center, right across the street, with us to kick off our Winter Forum. Before I more fully introduce Joe, let us pray. Lord Jesus Christ, you teach us anew to love our neighbor as ourselves, and to love you by caring for the least of these, to give food to the hungry, drink to the thirsty, clothing to the naked, to care for the sick, to visit those in prison, and, we might add, to seek to provide essential services to all, such as housing, work, education, access to culture, transportation, good stewardship of the environment, and help when needed to live fruitfully within the systems of our society. In this time of anxiety, give us strength for our work and service, and bless those who give so much of themselves in conceiving and operating programs of community service. Strengthen our hope in times of trouble and frustration. Grant us wisdom in our decision-making. Give us grace to comfort the desperate and the fearful, and to assure the isolated of our love and of your love for them. For it is in your name we pray. Amen. Amen. Our presenter today, Joe Wisniewski, born and bred in Wilmington, is a proud graduate of Salesianum School, St. Mary's Seminary and University, and the University of Delaware's Biden School of Public Policy Administration with a certification in nonprofit management. Joe was ordained a Roman Catholic priest in 2007 and served the Catholic communities of Holy Family Catholic Church in Newark, Delaware, St. Anne Catholic Church in Wilmington, Delaware, and Father Judge High School in Philadelphia. He has served as chaplain to the Newark Police Department. Joe took a leave of absence from active ministry and began a new career in the Bellevue Community Center, where in 2016 he was appointed Director of Operations and Executive Director in April 2018. As the Executive Director of the Bellevue Community Center, Joe leads an organization with over 45, and I just heard that was updated, about 54 employees, a 60,000 square foot building, a $1.8 million budget, and programming for individuals and families in the 19809 zip code and beyond. Under Joe's leadership, Bellevue Community Center has been awarded nearly $5 million in grants, which has been used for building renovations, strategic planning, and youth programming. I'm certain Joe is eager to tell us more about the programs of the Bellevue Community Center. So please give a hearty welcome to our next door neighbor, Joe Wisniewski.
Thanks, Cliff. Good morning, everyone. I am really excited. I got here this morning, and there were 3 of us in the room. And I was wondering who was going to show up or if it was going to be a virtual talk. But I go by the philosophy that Jesus said to all of us. He said, feed my sheep, not count them. So, look how many showed up. Now we can do both. I'm really excited to be here. I had a wonderful visit with Cliff and Pastor Dave Mueller came over to my office one day at the community center, and he said, we want to talk about how we can move forward, not just as a church, but as a community, and how we can do that together. And I was really excited about that because prior to COVID, and can you realize it's almost been 2 years? Or it's over almost 2 years. I think we closed what was it, March 13th or something like that, we closed the building for 2 weeks. There was a sign. I came across a sign that said Bellevue will be closed for 2 weeks. We'll reopen on March 31st. That was a long, long time ago. But those guys came to my office and they said they want to get going again. And I was really excited about that because we want to get going again. We reopened the building in June of 2020 with our child care and our before and after school care with a virtual academy that helped educate kids all throughout the year. And we've been going strong ever since. We've had a couple of cases of COVID with teachers who contracted stuff outside, but haven't had any cases of kids contracting COVID in our building. And so we're really proud of the work that our janitorial staff and our maintenance staff and all the folks that are there every single day to help keep our kids safe. So it's wonderful. I'm really glad to be here. And our pastor just came in. Good morning, sir. Hate to see you with that walker, but what are you going to do?
Stuff happens.
So I thought what I'd do today is I would talk a little bit about the Bellevue Community Center and what's going on over there. It's very easy for me to talk about it. There's so many wonderful things. And I've entitled this talk What If? One of the things we did this year when I first took over was we changed the logo and started using the sunflower. How many of you have seen our community garden out back behind? If during the growing season you go past there, you will see our hallmark, trademark sunflower, and you'll see that all over all kinds of stuff. Let me see how I figure out how to do this. So history of the Bellevue Community Center. We were originally located down in the Edgemore School. The Edgemore School all the way down at the end of Brandywine Boulevard. It's now called the Paladin Club, right? So there used to be a building that looked just like this, the old Edgemore School. We were founded in 1978, and we were in the school. And they did the operation there for many, many years. And then all of a sudden they decided to build the Paladin Club, and the community center had to relocate. So they came all the way up Brandywine Boulevard, and they came into what was the Mount Pleasant Junior High School at the time. And they operated in that building for a while. It wasn't the greatest thing that was going on. From what I hear the stories, it wasn't a great place to be. It wasn't a clean place, wasn't very well run, and it was almost going to close. But there was some outcry from the local community said we need a community center. At the same time that was happening, the Brandywine School District decided to relocate their offices. So they came into the back of the building. They completely renovated everything. They cut a road in on both sides, widened the road. They cut that big field in the back of our building in half, and they put in the Brandywine School District offices. They renovated, and all of a sudden, there was this big part of the front of the building that they didn't want to do anything with. They had no need for that building. So, as part of the state bond bill, they offered the Bellevue Community Center that building for $1. That was part of the bond bill. Now, that sounds pretty cool, right? Well, suppose I said to you, I want to give you a new car. Really excited, right? For $1. However, it's a 1971 Ford Pinto with 489,000 miles. And not only do you have to keep it running, but you have to keep it licensed. And that was the problem that we faced. This building was falling down. It was broken down. It needed a lot of repair. So it was great to get the building. I remember hearing stories that there were people that came into the building to work, but didn't eat in the building. They didn't have their lunch in the building. The building was too dirty. People, they weren't cleaning stuff. It was falling apart. So we got this new building. There was a brand new switch. And in September 1989, we moved up from the old place to the new place. And in 1997, they did a $2.4 million renovation. That's where that round part of the front of the building came from, and all these different things happen. Sometimes I think that when you do renovations, though, you don't necessarily think about long-term. Like, I'd like to tear that building down and build a three-story building because that's what I really need. right now. But they did that. They did the renovation. I'm sorry, I did get Presbyterian Church of the Covenant in here. I wanted to try to get you guys, but it wasn't. A little further down the road. So it was great. They did the renovation. And then about 9 years ago, a little more than 9.5 years ago, my predecessor, Susan Strawbridge, came in. She was hired to come in and clean this place up. And she came in and she did a great job cleaning up. She cleaned up the staff. She cleaned up the building. She did all kinds of stuff. And I was hired in 2014 to come into the building as a drug and alcohol prevention specialist. There's an organization called the Delaware Prevention Coalition. And I was hired to go out into the community and work with young people and schools and talk about don't do drugs and hand out pamphlets and do alternative activities and all that kinds of stuff. And after about a year and a half, there was a change in what was going on at the center, and I was offered a job as the director of operations to come in and run the everyday operations of what was going on. And I was doing everything from HR and payroll to facilities to all of the event planning and whatever needed to be done. And then, let's see, I don't know if I have a slide for that. Then on April 4th, 2019, it says, standing on the shoulders of those who went before us. We always stand on the shoulders of the people that go before us. Everybody does a part and they add something to it. And on April 4th, 2019, I was offered the job as the interim executive director of the Bellevue Community Center. And I did that up until I was interim executive director up until I think it was December 17th. On November 30th, I had hip replacement surgery. And the president of the board came to my house and offered me the job as the executive director full time. And I went to the staff Christmas party in pajamas and a walker. I feel like you, David. Went with a walker and went to that Christmas party. And then they officially announced to the staff that I was the new executive director. And everybody applauded and we were moving forward. But that was a big day for us. And a lot of stuff has happened since then. So I had a brand new vision of really what I wanted to do. I spent that first year rebuilding partnerships, people that had been let go, bridges that had been burned, tried to get out into the community, tried to really start to restructure what was going on at the community center, develop new strategic partnerships, and the churches were a big part of that. From St. Mark's to Presbyterian Church of the Covenant to the Methodist Church to St. Helena's or St. Helena's, however they say that now, to the not just the churches, but also the food communities and Lutheran community services and all that kind of stuff. So we were trying to develop new strategic partners. And I started to get buddy-buddy with grant funders. And I came to find out very, very quickly that if you want to get money, you need to be in a good relationship with the people that give the money away. It's really it's about calling people, meeting up with people. And one of the ladies I reached out to was a woman by the name of Patricia Anderson. She's the executive director of the Crystal Trust Foundation. And we wrote this little grant because our roofs were leaking like sieves. We had buckets down the third floor hallway that you had to maneuver whenever you went down. And we had these great big upside down teepees that were collecting water with hoses going into garbage cans. The roofs were just shot after, all these years of use. So we wrote this small grant and we went to Crystal Trust and Patricia Anderson. And we said, we have this great big vision for the things we'd like to do for the building. How about you helping? How about you kicking off this thing? And all we need from you is $75,000. For big funders, that's not a lot of money. I mean, for me, $75,000 was like, holy cow. So we talked to her, and then all of a sudden, I got a call from the office that said, Mr. Joe, there's a little white envelope here with your name on it. What should we do with that? And I called my friend, and I said, do me a favor, stop by, pick up that check. Nobody open it. Don't open it. And bring it to me. And now remember, I'm at home recovering from hip replacement surgery. I'm in my pajamas and I open up this envelope and in it is the check for $75,000. And I was leaping in the kitchen. I videotaped of me jumping up and down, first check that we got, and it was the springboard to a lot of more money that came in. But we really did have to have a whole new vision. We had to have a way to start bringing the Bellevue Community Center into it. By the way, we used to be called the Edgemore Community Center. We were strategically located down there. And then when we moved up here, Edgemore Community Center had a negative connotation to it. It was connected to a bad neighborhood. It didn't ring well with people. So the people before me made a decision to rename it Bellevue Community Center just because geographically we're close to the Bellevue State Park. But that's caused some problems because, do I have to pay a fee to get into your community center? People trying to figure out where we are. So we had a great new plan. Things were going pretty well. And if I can say one thing about Bellevue, really it's about kids. The whole thing is about kids. As the executive director, I'm really busy, and I went from being an operations guy that really needed like roller skates or inline skates or something to get around 60,000 square foot building, and I was on the move all the time. But when I became the executive director, all of a sudden, I was in my office. I'm on the phone. I'm writing grants. I'm doing so many different things. And one of the things I forced myself to do every single day was either at lunchtime, go down and have lunch with the kids. And that didn't always work out so well, because if you've ever eaten with 5 and 6 year olds, those face shields were wearing now. You probably needed one of those back then. Or I would take my dog, Sarge at the time, and I would bring him down, and the kids would get to meet him and run around, and he would have a great time with them. But it's really all about the kids. Things were going pretty well for us. Here's a picture of Sarge. He was the yellow lab. Our kids, they're doing something in here. I don't know what it is, but they have these splash guards on, and that's always good. But having fun. We lost Sarge just this past year. He had a liver infection, and he wasn't able to eat. He wasn't able to hold anything down. And then, if you know anything about yellow labs, their hips go bad. So he actually couldn't even stand up anymore, and I had to make a tough decision to say goodbye to him. And I'll show you his replacement who came. I asked my friends, I said, one of my friends, a Jewish friend, I said, how long do you think I have to wait to get a new dog? He said, well, 7 or 8 days, we sit Shiva. After that, we get back to life. So on the 9th day, I talked to the breeder and got a new puppy. But it's all about the kids. It's all about, doing a lot of fun things, the great relationships that we have. This is one of the first things I did when I got there was we do call the Bellevue Community Center a family. We're all considered family members, and we created what's called the family tree. And so one of our art teachers put up this tree trunk, and then everybody that was part of our community came in and put their hands in a bucket of paint and put their handprint, and that created the leaves for the trees. So all of them are on there. Now the story about Pat, going back to Patricia Anderson from the Crystal Trust Foundation, I called her and I said, Patricia, I'd like for you to come over and see the center. Come on over and see what's going on. And I know if I can get you in my building and show you what's going on, and you meet our staff and you meet our kids, you'll fully buy into what we're doing. So she said, I can give you 1 hour, and then I got to go. She stayed 3.5 hours. She came to the place. She was walking around downstairs. You thought she was running for mayor. She's kissing babies. She was all over the place. And then at one point, one of the teachers that did this family tree, I called her over and I said, Patricia, I'd love to have you as part of our family tree. Would you put your handprint on the tree? And this executive director of this large foundation took off her shoes, put her hand in paint, climbed up on a chair, and I don't know which one of them here it is, but one of those handprints on the tree, she put her hand on it, and she came off of the chair, and she was going to go into the bathroom to wash her hand, but she leaned into me and she said, I need to speak to you in your office as soon as I get back. And we went back into the office, and she said, normally for grants, you have to get a grant, and you have to wait 2 years before you can apply again. But I love what you're doing. I want you to reapply. We're going to give you money right away next year. That's getting her into the building. That's what it really did. And then the next cycle, we applied, and I got a letter that said, you're supposed to wait 2 years. And I sent her a letter. I said, I'm really sorry. I thought you asked me to reapply. She personally called me on the phone and said, don't worry, I have to send that letter. And within 2 weeks, a check for $150,000 came after that. So they've really supported a lot of the work that we do. This is just some of the things that happen. We have, just so you know, we have, in our child care center, we have infants that are 5-week-old babies, all the way up to 5-year-olds. That's in our child care. So the waiting list is the womb, right? Because the mom finds out she's going to have a baby, she gets the name on the waiting list because she wants to get into the program. And we have about 8 kids, 8 little babies that are in our program, and it's growing. And we're actually having to update the room that we use for all of that. So once we were doing all of this stuff, we had to one day sat down and we had to ask in senior management staff meeting. We asked ourselves this question: what if? I asked them to think about that question and look at their program and say, what if? How could everything change if we asked that question? What if we recruited and trained highly talented, dedicated teachers who truly love kids and truly love teaching? We went through a lot of teachers. We weeded out some teachers that would just want to come in and punch the clock and do their job, and as soon as it was 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock, they were out the door. So they every time you interviewed, why do you want to work here? I love kids. Well, what does that mean? And what we found is that there's a difference between loving kids and loving to work with kids and teach and train them. And so we had a great changeover. We had teachers that got moved on, and we brought in new teachers. And we developed a brand new program where we went around to every single classroom. We worked with the University of Delaware in the Delaware Stars program. And we're proud to say that after a long process, we became a 5-star Delaware Star educational program, which is the highest rating that you can get for education. And I think the other one is Jenny Jones's program next door. What's it called? The Edge program, I think it's called. Next door is a 5-star program as well. But you have to have so many standards. Like they come in, they want to inspect the rooms. You know, you can't have any chipping paint, or you can't have any tripping carpet hazards, or you can't have anything. The rooms all have to be set up in stages. And we worked long hours. We spent all kinds of money, but it's worth it. Because in the end, people want to send their kids to a 5-star program. Would you rather stay at a 5-star hotel or a 2-star hotel? Right? And the other thing is we, so the way parents can send their kids to our child care program is it's either full care, they can either have full pay if they can afford to pay whatever the tuition is, or they can do a part pay where they pay part and then the state helps pay the other part, or the state helps them fully pay in a program that's called the Purchase of Care program. So the state knows that some people have to go to work. A lot of single moms, they have to go to work, but they can't, they've got kids at home. What are they going to do with these kids? So they send them to the after-school program. They pay for the after-school program so the parents can go to work. And the requirement is, in order to get the free child care, you have to be working. We've had a number of people that have tried to apply for Purchase of Care, but they didn't have a job, so they didn't qualify. So this really helps, because being a 5-star program also means there's additional money that comes in to help run the community center based upon the fact that we're 5-star. So that's really very exciting. So you can see some of this stuff. These are some of our awesome teachers. This was one of the night we did a fun team building activity and went up to one of those escape rooms. Have you heard of those things? Yeah. Where you go into the room and you have to figure out the thing. And we broke into small groups and we all had different rooms. And we went out afterwards for a little bit of celebration and some supper. And all of our outstanding team got together. But this is just a couple of pictures of our awesome teachers that are working. This is our dynamic trio of leaders on Halloween. And I don't know who they are, but what they're trying to be. But it was pretty scary the day of Halloween. They really get excited about what happens. So we have 5-week-old to 5-year-old child care. And then we have what's called before and after care. And so that's for kindergarten, 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders. So parents can drop their kids off and then go to work. We feed them breakfast and then either put them on a bus to go to school or walk them next door to Mount Pleasant Elementary School. 75% of the kids that are in our program walk right next door, go to Mount Pleasant. It's a really great thing. Then at the end of the school day, we walk next door, pick up the kids and bring them back, and they're with us starting at 3 o'clock to the end of the day, 5:30 at the end. And then that translates into a summer camp program where we have over 100 kids that come to us for 10 weeks, where this after school, they've got to go somewhere. They have to be taken care of. So they come to us for a full-blown camp. And camp is, there's all kinds of arts and crafts. There's all kinds of field trips. We feed them 3 times a day. It's a lot of work, but it's a lot of fun. We've been able to be really blessed about how we do all that kind of stuff. We try to we try to work very hard on diversity with some of our teachers that are a lot of our teachers look like the kids they're serving and working with, and that's really important for us. So we asked ourselves another question: what if we recruited and hired a talented staff of knowledgeable gardening and farming staff? Because what we did, I don't know, 7 years ago, almost 8 years ago, we had this field in the back. Brandywine School District came in, they renovated the property, they cut that football field in half, and now it wasn't big enough to do anything. We couldn't run any programs, so what were we going to do about it? We came up with this idea to put in a community garden. And so this field in the back just started to explode and to grow, no pun intended. We had small boxes for the kids, and there's 4-foot by 16-foot boxes that community members can rent. $25 for the whole summer. And there's tools and all kinds of stuff out there. So we said, what could we do? What if we hired these things? What could happen? After kind of struggling for the first couple of years, we found this woman named Elisa King, who is a dynamo. And she came in, she took over the program, she started writing grants, she hired some gardeners, she got in this underground water sprinkling system. At first, we were trying to collect water off the roof of the pavilion into a rain barrel, and then carrying buckets of water over to the garden. How many trips do you think we needed for that? So we did. We tapped into the building, and then we put this really great sprinkler system in. And it's just been growing and growing and growing. And now it is, I think they did something like 11 or 12,000 pounds of produce that came out of the garden in this past growing season. It's turned into our Friday night farmers market. Every Friday night we have a farmers market, but on the third Friday night, we have the big events. That's where there's food trucks and beer trucks and live music and vendors, like 15 or 20 vendors that are out there. And it's really been a great asset to the community. Everybody really loves coming out to them. But we just this past week won an award because of the work that they did out in the garden. This picture is actually inside of a high tunnel. We received a grant to get this great big long high tunnel, which is a all season growing, looks like a big tent that's in the garden that's out there. It's like this hoop thing. And I don't know if we're growing anything right now. It's been pretty cold, and you need a lot of sun to keep the warmth inside this thing. And it's been kind of dismal around here lately. But this garden has just exploded. And now the kids are growing stuff in the garden. There's a full-blown education program. There is 4-H program, and there's an entrepreneurial club that has started. The kids that work in the garden are starting to develop a drink, a beverage, that's using ingredients that they grow in the garden, and then we'll sell it at the farmer's market. And they taste tested some of those drinks, and they were delicious just recently. So this is like one of the biggest programs we have. These are some of our education folks. This is our official sunflower. This is Miss Elisa King and Melody. Melody Mason, they're the two women that kind of grow everything. Elisa's our director. Melody is our education coordinator. She works with the kids. She is fantastic. This is Melody with some of, I guess they're onions or leeks or some of them. But this is an aerial photograph of the garden shot from the top of the building where you can see. We kind of modeled it after the University of Delaware's continuing ed garden down there where they have grass growing all around the raised boxes. So if you know anybody that's interested that doesn't have space in their yard, maybe doesn't have a whole lot of sun, they're looking to grow stuff, you can come out and, like I said, for $25 a season, and you can rent one of these boxes and grow your own stuff. And it's really amazing. very educational. This is just a group of our kids out in front of the pavilion in the garden, all holding up sunflowers and being really excited about it. But what if we hired an outstanding facilities director with knowledge in buildings and renovation? And so we needed, when I left operations and became executive director, I needed somebody to do that facility work that I was doing. And so we found this guy by the name of Mr. Howard Walker. Looks pretty serious there. This is on the first day of construction. But this is what the front of our building used to look like. I'm hoping I have a new picture in there. It doesn't look so bad, but every single thing, this was a handicap ramp that came down, and I don't know if you can see it, but all the patching, the brickwork, the concrete is all busted up. It was a nightmare. And we used to have Seller Senior Center here, and that was a nightmare for them because they couldn't get in and out of the building too well. They actually left several years ago and went up to the Silverside Church on Silverside Road. They have real easy access. They're very happy with where they are, and we're utilizing their space in different ways. So we hired Mr. Howard Walker, and then we decided that we had to go out and raise some money and really start fixing up this building. So we went to the Longwood Foundation, and we went to the Welfare Foundation, and we went to the state of Delaware. And I was working with Deb Heffernan. You all know Deb Heffernan. Love Deb Heffernan. She's our state representative. And I'm on the phone. I'm talking with her. And she's like, yes, Joe, get me the application. Ask for $750,000. That would be great. So I wrote this whole thing, worked with our lawyer, got the whole thing together, submitted this thing for $750,000. And then the bond bills released, and they gave us $200,000. I was never more upset in all my life to receive $200,000 because I thought we were going to get $750,000. But we started the process, and we busted all that concrete up. We put brand new stuff in. Sarge was at every one of the construction sites because he used to walk around with me all the time. And we renovated our gym, and this is a picture of our brand new gymnasium. Beautiful floor. This was the old floor, if you can imagine. This, they used to call it the cheese grater because the guys would fall playing basketball and bust up their knees. It was this 12 by 12 panel floor, horrendously old, and we completely redid. New paint, new heating, new air conditioning, dropped down. There was this old ugly thing that you pulled across to divide the gym. Now this thing, turn a key and the motor lowers down. You can divide the gym so you can have two things going on. Scoreboard, amazing thing. What could happen, if we hired the right people and we went out and asked for money? Facility grants are really not that hard to write. You just got to be in good relationship with the funders themselves. And one of the things that came out, I asked for $90,000 from the Welfare Foundation to replace the parking lot at BCC. And Chris Gruntner, the executive director, said, I want to come out and see the place and talk to you. And he went out. I didn't even know he was there. I had a meeting. He came early. He's walking around the parking lot. He comes in, he sits down, he goes, you don't need a new parking lot. I'm not giving you money for a new parking lot. I was like, oh, I see where this is going. So we sat there and talked. And again, building a relationship with him. And we came up with the idea that this whole gym renovation, $200,000 came from Longwood, but it was $400,000 for the whole package. So Chris Guntner said, I'll give you $75,000 to the air conditioning so that you can get air conditioning in this gym. And that's what he did. So we worked together and got that all upgraded. What if we created a center for outreach and prevention and wrote grants to help our local community? We asked that question. And so we have this guy named Daniel Elkins. You may have met him, may have seen him. He also is really big in the Bellefonte Lions. We were all part of the foundation of the Lions Club, and then he lives and breathes Lions Club, And so we created this center called the Center for Outreach and Prevention, Drug and Alcohol Prevention, trying to decide how we're going to help our kids. How are we going to keep our kids safe in this community? And this boom is in here because the thing has exploded. They have taken over the entire third floor of the Bellevue Community Center. They have written grants from the federal government that are part of, we've got a drug-free communities grant. We have a strategic prevention framework, Partners for Success grant. These are grants that are $1 million grants. And they go to hiring people and creating programming and doing things for kids, renovating the third floor. So there's the office for prevention outreach. The Lions Club has a youth programming center up there. The Cause is up there. Scott Michaels is up there doing his work. We just created a brand new center called the Chill Zone, which is a place for kids to go. Where do kids go when they get off of school? Where can they go? We now have a room that's set up that has Xboxes in it, an old-fashioned air hockey table from an old arcade, a basketball shooting thing. There's snacks, there's beverages, there's couches to relax on. But the most important thing is free Wi-Fi. What's amazing about our kids is that a lot of our kids, you'll see, have cell phones. And they walk around in school acting like they're talking to somebody, or they're out in the community, they're talking to somebody. But in fact, they're not really talking to anybody because they can't afford a plan. The only way that they can use their phone is if there's someplace with free Wi-Fi. So when they come into the Bellevue Community Center and we have free Wi-Fi, they can sit on a couch, all the phones come out and they start using it legitimately. And it's been a real blessing to be able to do that. So we've been able to do things, work with the Lions Club. We've started programs. We started this Rubik's Cube club that was part of our summer camp. The Delaware Prevention Coalition, United Against Substance Abuse, that's the program I started working with. And it went from me to Daniel to Adam, and now from Adam to Cole. We just hired a new guy for that. This is Adam working with our kids, talking about it. One of the alternative activities was our chess club. Like, what can you do with kids to keep them off the streets? If you lived in Edgemore, you walk around Edgemore, the role models that you have, the guy standing on the corner with the pit bull at his feet selling drugs. And we know people that live in Edgemore that live there because they can't get out of there and they don't let their kids out on the street because they don't think it's too safe to be there. So this whole thing about doing prevention and doing outreach, this is at the Bellefonte Arts Festival. You probably know about the Bellefonte Arts Festival. So we get out there, we just try to get ourselves open to the community. Some of the other things that we're working on right now. What if we focus on other areas? So we have an art studio over there. We have a young African-American lady, Michaela Brooks, who is now working with our kids 2 days a week in our after-school program. We just, with the help of a guy by the name of Stephen Wilkerson, we hired this guy to be a youth program coordinator, and he started this brand new program. And so we have art. We have video production. We have kids that are sitting there making videos that are PSAs. They actually shot a video. I just saw it the other day where there were 6 kids all sitting around in the circle that were kids acting as if they were at an AA meeting. And they were talking about what's going on with them. And I wish I hadn't started so early. And, it's one of these PSA type things. And they're doing phenomenal work. Our next phase is actually to renovate our multi-purpose room and our kitchen so that we can get back to doing culinary arts. We have a lot of kids that want to do culinary arts. We also need better space for cooking for our kids. And we've been approached by a lot of our food truck vendors that are looking for commissaries. So we're going to renovate and try to be part of that, but get back to culinary arts. This whole after-school program is exploding. And we just contracted with the guy, Coach Joe, from the 76ers warehouse down on the riverfront, who is a former Harlem Globetrotter coach, who's now going to be teaching our kids basketball 2 nights a week. So if you know anybody, any kids, you have any kids or grandkids that are in that age group on Monday and Wednesday night, 5:30 to 7:30, want to play basketball, we're going to have the gym open for kids to play basketball. We started a disc golf thing. That's like the new craze. You go to any state park, it's like you see these people throwing disc golf and, talking about, I heard these people standing in the office. One of our guys, Sean Logue, is really into it. He teaches our class. He's like, oh, yeah, I was like 4 under par. I don't think he's talking about golf. And then I find out he's talking about getting disc golf. So the disc golf has gotten really big. The 4-H club and the entrepreneurial clubs so we've created space for these kids to do that. And as part of the entrepreneurial club, they're learning financial literacy. How do you handle your money? How do you do a checkbook? Basic stuff that we all learned. I remember being taught that, and a lot of kids aren't doing that. We had 4 of our oldest boys come to me one day and say, Mr. Joe, we're thinking about going out and getting an apartment together. And I was like, really? That's great. Come on in here. Let's sit down. And we sat in front of a dry erase board. I said, let's talk about your budget, how that's going to work. They had no clue. How much do you want to put in the budget for food? They said, well, we don't need any budget for food. Mom's going to give us food. No, I said, no, your mom's glad you're out of the house. She's got 4 other kids. She's not feeding you. You have to feed yourself. How much do you want to put in here for clothes? $10. $10 a month? You just bought $180 basketball shoes. You're going to wait 18 months to buy a new pair of shoes? They had no idea. So one of the things the entrepreneurial, oh, by the way, they didn't move into an apartment. We squashed that pretty quickly. So one of the things the entrepreneurial club is not just, it's about how to start a business, how to organize it, how to get everything all together, how to do a budget, how to do the financing, how to promote the whole thing. And then weaved into that is this other stuff with the kids. So there's some areas that we're really excited about. What if we went out and wrote grants and asked foundations and generous people for money? And I put 4.5 in here, but I think it's pretty close to $5 million that we raised from the federal funds. Like to get a letter in the mail that says, congratulations, your grant request has been accepted and you're getting $1.4 million spread over the next 5 years to do drug and alcohol prevention work. That's pretty powerful. That happened twice to us. Twice to us. So when you take that funding and you take all the funding that came in from all the other grants for doing all this capital stuff, it's amazing what you do. And this is Dr. Brown. She's our director of education. Wonderful woman. She just had a really tough fall. Her husband, John Brown, dropped dead very, very suddenly in the kitchen right before Thanksgiving. Her mom is in the hospital. But she is a faithful, faithful woman, puts a lot of faith and hope and trust in God, and she's doing really, really well. But this is actually one of the programs that we do. Is called cardio drumming. Have you heard of that? It's got a great big ball, and you get drumsticks, and you play music, and you jump up and down with drumsticks, and you go around the ball, and it's a fitness program. And that's Dr. Brown doing that, but that's also what she did when the money came in. She was like, woohoo! But Dr. Brown, just a funny story. Dr. Brown was, as our director of education, she's the one that got our 5-star. It was all the work that she did and her team getting everything together. And she said, you know, we're always doing this funny thing. Like, let's raise money. Like, if we raise a certain amount of money, would you shave your head? Or would you do something crazy? And she said, if we get the 5 stars, I'll rip my wig off. And we got the notice for the 5-star, and I'm telling you, she went into Susan's office and she ripped her wig off and she started screaming, waving the wig, and very excited about what's going on. So what if we did that? What if we wrote this stuff? And that was something that we weren't doing in the past. We weren't just writing it. We weren't in good relationship with funders. And to be able to raise that kind of money in 3 years is pretty phenomenal. This is my new boy. This is Matthew. He works for us. He's one of our college kids that works in the summertime. And it was at one of our farmers market with Wilmington Brew Works. And that is Maximilian. He's right now 7.5 months old and he weighs 80 pounds. And he is still growing. So he became like this new guy to be around. He's going to go through his obedience training, and then he's going to be not a service dog, a therapy dog for kids. We're going to try to train him to do that. He's got to calm down a little bit right now. And right now he's a little bit scared of the kids because they all come at him at one time and they want to pet him, but I take him down. Like I said, I need to get out of the office. I take Max downstairs. The kids get to see him. He gets into everything. Every single thing he's into all the time. I have some time for Q&A. That's just kind of like a brief overview. I was looking for pictures to make the slides. There's like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of pictures on our Facebook post. We're working on a brand new website that's going up. But there's so much that's going on. And my philosophy is hire really good people and let them do their job. And if you have anything that you want to do and you can find the people and the money to do the program, we're going to do it. We've just started to open up on our 3rd floor. We have an old classroom that has a little stage on it. It's now called the Bellevue Theater. And we're doing small things. Like we had a band there a couple weeks ago, and we've got little couches that are out there. And it's just like once a month, we're going to invite folks in and come in and sit down. It looks like a little club, like a little nightclub or something that's up there. We're doing poetry reading, comedy clubs, bands, things like that will be happening over there. The big thing that I'm really working on right now is the art program. We want to expand the art program. We had a kid. He was 14 years old. He had been in and out of trouble with the law, had no male figure, no father in his life. He was running all over the place. We caught him running on the roof of the building. He had climbed up. Brandywine School District, when they built their building, they did this really cool thing. They built this entranceway in steps. So like you go, and there's a wall that is, there's this, and then there's another wall, and then there's another wall, and then there's the roof, and then there's the roof of the building, and the kids just climbed right up. It was like they built a ladder. And when I first got there, it was really weird. There were liquor bottles, empty beer cans, a mattress was on our roof. It was crazy what was going on up there. So this kid, finally, he had a little bit of time to get himself together, and he was back in school, and he went into this class, and it was this English class that he was taking. And the assignment was to go home for the weekend and to talk to your parents and come back and write up a report, like an essay on your family and the characters and who's in your family. Tell us about your family. Come back in on Monday and we'll all read our reports. And this kid said, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm not reading in front of anybody. Well, this teacher was great. The teacher turned to him and said, all right, how about this? How about you draw me a picture? Well, the kid said, okay, I'll do that. So he went home for the weekend, came back on Monday. It was his turn to present. He stood up and he showed this picture. The teacher saw this picture, was blown away, took it to the art department. The art teacher was blown away, and they realized that this kid had talent that nobody knew. He had never been given an opportunity to explore that before. So one of the things we try to do is give kids as many opportunities as they can to explore it, whether it's playing chess, whether it's doing art, whether it's working for bike time. We have a bike club that you learn how to build and maintain all the bikes. And if you do it all, then you get time to ride your bikes around the neighborhood and things like that. Giving kids an opportunity to explore so many things to find out where their talent is. I mean, I graduated from Sally's and I played soccer there, but I wasn't very good. I mean, it was 1977. That's how old I am. 1977, if it was today, I would have never played. I was never good enough. But what I was a runner. I was running like 10 miles a day for soccer. But nobody ever said to me, what if you tried cross country? Nobody gave me that opportunity. Nobody said, why don't you try to explore that? So that's one of the big things that we try to do is give kids as many opportunities as we possibly can to explore different things, get them out of a very tough situation where they're coming from, give them alternative activities, and let's see what's happening. And I'll tell you, it was sad. About 3 years ago, we had a beautiful basketball program, great group of kids that graduated high school, great group of younger kids that was kind of in development, and this great group of kids in the middle, and they all got caught up in drugs. And we had to stop the basketball program because we didn't have any kids. This whole group of kids that was supposed to feed into the program from middle school all got caught up into drugs. We saw their pictures in the paper under the crime reports. They're down at the Sternfeld Center. I mean, it was really, really sad and heartbreaking for our coaches and things like that. And right now, we're starting to rebuild that program. So that's really, we're really about kids and about programming, get this building back into shape, and provide this community with whatever we can possibly, what we can offer them. So it's kind of like that's 50 minutes. So what questions does anybody have about, yes, ma'am?
Do you have any kind of a program for for parents getting GEDs or something like that?
We don't right now, but the Claymont Community Center does. That's the other thing about partnerships. So one of the things that we were talking about with Cliff was how do we do things together? And I've got some ideas for that. But one of the things is, when I think about that is, we don't have to be everything to everybody. We just need to know where it is. So we don't have the capacity in our program right now to offer that GED program, but I know they're offering it at Claymont. If someone came to me, I support Claymont Community Center and say, send those folks up to them. Like there's our after-school program, we have purchase of care. So if you can't afford it, then you get purchase of care. If you don't qualify for purchase of care and you can't afford my program, I send you over to Ginny Jones because we're trying to work in partnership together. What are the things that we can do together? That's my big thing. When Cliff addressed me with that question was, we don't all have to be everything to everybody. We just have to work together to get it all done, right? So I would refer somebody up to, we'd ultimately love to get there because our new teen center that's connected with the Chill Zone and the programming center, we want to offer different things to kids to help them get to that kind of space. So what other questions?
Do you see any specific way that we at St. Mark's could be supportive to you or your program?
Yeah, I think that whole thing about like events, annual events. So we used to do Thanksgiving, Fall Festival, Halloween event, Christmas event, Easter egg hunt. We used to do all this stuff over at the Bellevue Community Center. We used to do father-daughter dance, mother-son. I mean, we used to do all this stuff. And the one thing that I think we can do is by putting together a committee of people that are interested from all the different churches, and we were doing this right before COVID, is to say, how can we do all these things together? So let's say I'll do the Thanksgiving dinner. You guys do the Christmas bazaar, whatever we want to do, however we can spread those, and then we support each other. We can also do fundraisers. Some people think I'm crazy, but why don't we do fundraisers together and share in some of the profits? Why do I have to kill myself and my staff to do? We did a 40th anniversary of the founding of our organization, 2018, and we raised about $7,000 or $8,000. Had 140 people out in the garden. Had a wonderful evening, live music, dinner. It was a really, really nice evening. It was a good fundraiser, but it was a lot of work. And it would be a lot easier to do that if we had more people that could contribute to that. And then we'd all get to know each other and get to share in all the benefits, the gifts and talents. What do they say? Time, talent, and treasure. And then we can get this stuff done without killing our own individual staffs. So that would be the one big thing I think we can do. Because I want to get back and do our Thanksgiving dinner in the fall. Yes, sir.
I have a great deal of respect for the Lions Club.
Mm-hmm.
It's only been within the last few years that we have our own club locally. And but I'm surprised to learn where they are. In other words, I don't think they have much presence in the community. And should I be concerned about that? Should anybody be?
Well, we were approached maybe 4 years ago by the Claymont Lions Club to say they wanted to start one of these startup clubs down here because this was a pocket that wasn't being served. That's when we formed the Bellefonte Lions Club. They're based out of the Bellevue Community Center. They're actually in the community. There's a difference. Claymont does a lot of fundraising to give money away, and the Bellefonte Lions are more service-oriented, where they're down there shoveling stuff from the hurricane, and they are in the community. They have about 130 members of that, and they're very, very active. They do, on the second Thursday of every single month, they do a fresh food giveaway for the needy and the poor in the back of in the pavilion at the community center. So, I mean, I can try to get information for you about where you can find out what they're doing.
Well, it's no question that they do some wonderful things. There's just no visual presence of them in the neighborhood.
Okay.
It seems like it would be a good thing for them to have
Sure.
Sort of a visual thing, you know, a sign out there, maybe as simple as that, or
Okay.
some
Well-
visual visibility
Well-
in the community.
Scott Michaels is the new president, is this year's the president. I'm going to meet with him next week anyway. And I'll talk about this conversation that we're having. And one of the things that they can address is how they can be more visible. One of the things they do, they will wear their, the yellow vests with the Lions logo on it whenever they're out doing service and stuff like that. So, but I'll bring that up. I'll ask Scott to see if there's some way that he can do that. I just have my picture, the last thing, and my contact information, if anybody had any other questions. But the one thing that we're not doing right now is we're not doing senior citizens because Sellers is doing that. Like I said, that we can't be everything to everybody, but we need to know where that stuff is and how do we direct folks to where they need to go to get that stuff done. Yes, ma'am.
How about just individual people who have a few hours during the week to contribute?
Give me a call and we'll see what your skill set is to see where you can volunteer. COVID has sort of cut back on the number of volunteers that we've been allowing into the building. We used to have Read Aloud Delaware. We used to have a grandparents club that came in all the time. They were really helpful to teachers, adding an extra hand in classrooms. Kids love to be read to. If you love to cook and you want to help out in the kitchen with Miss Brenda and all the meals, you can help with stuff like that. If you have office skills and you want to answer some telephones or file some stuff, there's always something to shred. We've been around for a long time. So, just give us a call or send me an email. I don't have my email up here, but I can give you my card. Everything is first initial at bellevuecc.org. But yeah, we'd love to have volunteers. We're currently working with a group of volunteers from Salesianum. 2 groups of boys that are coming in. One group is painting a big mural on the wall for the kids of a circus train with animals coming out of it. And one of the things we're really big on is reading. So the other boys are building what's called the Reading Lodge, which is a blank wall, and they're building the facade of a log cabin with a big porch with rocking chairs on it. And it's an opportunity and some logs for kids to sit on. And it's an opportunity for teachers to send their kids out if the kids are doing well, grab a book from the library, go sit on the porch and read a book. So that's kind of cool. That's kind of one of the other things that's coming up.
We want to thank you very much.
Thank you. Love talking about Bellevue.
You can see with the energy why that program keeps growing and growing and growing.
Well, people say, could you talk for 45 or 50 minutes?